Morning. Yes, it's the morning of e-learning. And I'm just now making this. I am in bed, but we're going to have fun. We're going to have fun doing composition of functions. Make sure you stay safe today, stay warm, but also make sure you do your homework, please. So, we're doing compositions. How these work is you have two different functions, right? We're going to do like an intro and then we'll do the actual problems, but this is the process behind it. Suppose you want to plug in 3 for f of x. So that means you're going to take your good old, I'm going to use green for yellow because yellow is going to, you take 3 and you plug it in for f of x. So it would look like this. 5 parentheses 3 squared plus 3 plus 1, right? You get a number, so 9 times 5, 45 plus 3, 48, 49. Yep, that was my little mental math there. So you get a number, right, for 49, and then you get that answer and you plug it into g of x. So that's the whole process for today, is you get a number, and then you plug it into the next one. So I'm going to go over here, and now I'm doing g of 49 equals 10 minus 2 times 49. Okay? So that's the premise of today. So 2 times 49 is a good old, like, 98, I believe. Let's see. Yep, 98. But then 10 minus 98 is negative 88. So that would be the final answer that you get to plug in to Math Excel or Formative or circle on your test. Okay, so that's the whole premise of today, is taking one number, plugging it into a function, and then taking that answer and plugging it back in. But the question is, just this brief little guide, is does it work the reverse? So what if I say I'm going to take 3 and plug it into g of x? So I'm going to go here and go g of 3 and get 10 minus 2 times 3. So that would be 4, and we're going to see, which you can already kind of tell because these numbers that I plugged in for f originally don't match, so they're not going to be the same, but just to show you how it plays out, now I take 4 and plug it into here. So f of 4 is 5 times 4 squared plus 4 plus 1. And we're just going to see if they equal, but you can kind of see that they aren't going to, but let's see what we end up getting. We get a positive 85. Okay, so this is just showing you that these two guys, the reverse of each other, are not equal. So don't just assume that if you do f of g or g of f, like they're not going to be the same. Okay, so that was step 1. It's just showing you the more simple way of looking at it, but then we're going to learn about how it's actually going to look on your homework. But that is the process. That's the math of today. So notation for it looks like the stuff below here. So one way you might see it is f of g of x, okay? And you always, I'm going to do this again, you always start inside first. I spelled inside wrong, awesome. Inside first, and then you go to the outside function, okay? So what I'm saying is you're going to start with the inside one, do whatever it's telling you, and then take your number and plug it into the f. But another way you might see this that would be like the same thing as what we just wrote is this. F, that little o I was talking about, of g of x. These two are saying the same thing. Okay, so what this one is doing is it's like back to front. Okay, so you start back first, and then you do the front function. Okay, so I'll take you through how to do that, but this O is what I was talking about yesterday. The O is not the same as multiply, so anytime you see an O, it's a composition. If it's just a dot, it's multiplication. All right, so we're going to jump in. I'm going to use blue for F and green for G, kind of like what I was doing. So how this works is you start inside out for this type of notation. So you're going to start with f of 2. So I'm going to come down here and write f of 2 and do what I did up top and just plug it into the f function. So 2 parentheses 2 minus 1, get a number, which would be 3. That's the number that I take, okay? It's not the final answer, but that I plug into the outside function. So I'm going to take 3, and I'm plugging it in now to g. So that's where it comes like this. I'm going to go g of 3 is 3 squared, because now I'm using the green function, the g function, which is 9. So the final answer of this is 9. Okay? And we know that the reverse is not the same. So if you feel comfortable, try B. But then I'm going to put that up as well and go through it. So take a second, try B. All right, to start, inside function first, which is g of 2. So I'm going to start with g of 2, which is the green, and I'm going to do 2 squared equals 4. That's the number I'm going to use now. So I forget about the 2, I take that 4, and it goes into the outside function, which is now an f. So f of 4 is what I'm working with now. So now I'm using the f function, which is this guy over here. So 2 times 4 minus 1 is 7. So the final answer for that one would be 7. Okay? So it's just like what we were doing up top, but you have to use the new notation. So inside out or back to front. So, like C is talking about, back to front now. Meaning you start with the of f first. Okay? So the back, I call it, because it's like, this is the front one, that's the back one. So I'm going to start with f of 6. F is my blue function, so I'm starting here. Okay? So you start with f of 6, and I'm going to go 2 times 6 minus 1, and I get 11. And then I do front function, which is the G letter. Okay? So I take my 11, bloop, over here, G of 11, and plug it into x squared, which is 11 squared, which is 121. That's my final answer, okay? So get a number, plug it into the other function. This next one, you can try it out, but I'll take you through it right now. If you want to try it out, just pause it. It's just g of g. So I do still start with g in the back. So I start here with g of negative 3. So I'm going to do negative, yes, you have to use parentheses or else you could get this whole problem wrong, okay? See how anytime I'm inputting a number, it's in parentheses? Please do that. Negative 3 squared is 9. Take that. It's just weird here because our outside or our front function is g as well. So I'm not going to switch colors, but I'm still taking that new number, 9, and it's going in for g again. So I'm going to go 9 squared in parentheses to get 81. So it's the same concept, you just have to know like where you're plugging it back in. And in this case, we're plugging it into g both times, but still taking the new number and plugging it in. Okay, once you use negative 3, don't use it again. Sweet. So if I went too fast or you're stuck, go ahead, go watch it again. Remember, it's a video, so you can pause it, rewind it, because now we're going to start with x's. So we got to like pay attention to this. So if you're not understanding the numbers, go back and try one more time. Here's how the letters work. So see, there's not a letter, or there's not a number. So we're just focusing on the functions themselves. You still go inside out or back to front. So I'm going to start with this one. And I'm starting with the g function. So I'm going to make it very similar to what we just did. Okay, so I'm going to come down here, and even though I don't have a number, I'm going to do what we were doing with the g and just write it out. So g of x is x squared. I'm going to underline it just like I've been doing so that you can see how it's very similar, and then I'm taking that, and my outside function is f. So I'm going to go f, but instead of that regular x, now it's going to be x squared. Okay? So now watch what happens. The normal f function is 2x minus 1, but what's going to happen is the x squared, just like the numbers were, is going in for the x. So it's going to be like this, 2x, squared, now instead of x, minus 1. And then what we do is we just clean that up because there's nothing to like distribute. So we're just going to multiply the 2 and x squared for the final answer to be 2x squared minus 1. for that final guy right there. Sorry, that's my dog. Stop it. It's okay. Just wait. Just wait. All right, so we're going to try one more. It's just the reverse. So we're starting with f function, f of x. So just to show you that gum. Oh my goodness. Stop. Stop. Just wait. Okay. So we're going to start with the f function, which in this case is, let me scroll back up, 2f of x is 2x minus 1. Underline that, and now that's going into the g function. So I'm going to boop g of 2x minus 1. But now the g function is x squared. So instead of x, I'm going to put this in parentheses, 2x minus 1, and square it. It just replaces the x. Okay? So honestly, I will accept this. I'm going to box it. But just for Math Excel, I believe they're a little picky. So I'm going to show you what Math Excel is going to want you to do. It's going to want you to FOIL this. Like that. Hang on, it's loading. So it's going to say you have 2 of them, 2x minus 1s, you have 2 of them, so then you're going to FOIL that. So firsts is 4x squared, outer is negative 2x, inner is negative 2x, and lasts is 1. Okay? And then just combine things, 4x squared minus 4x plus 1. So both of these I'm going to say are correct. Like, I would not get mad if you stopped here, okay? But Math Excel might want that. So if this isn't working, try that, okay? So again, if I went too fast, just pause, rewatch, try it again. I'm going to leave these next 4 for you, and then I'm going to put the answers up so that you can try them if you want, but then we're going to do the bottom too. So I'm just going to give you some time. Pause, try these 4, and then I'll put the answers up. Okay, so there are the 4 answers. I showed a little bit more work on these just so you can see what I did. So J, this 6x minus 5 went in for this x, so that's what I'm showing there, and then you just have to simplify. And then the other one is just the reverse, so I take h of x, and then I put it in for this x, so it goes in parentheses next to the 6. Okay, so then I had to distribute and then clean it up a little. All right, so if you have questions on that, just email me. I'll try to help you out. But the last couple is just weird because you have your functions are given in a little bit of a different way. So your f of x is this graph, and the g of x is the table, okay? So we are going to bounce between the 2 different sets, okay, of like information. So for this first one, I'm going to leave these up so you can kind of see them. F of g, so the process is still the same. If we're working with this, I'm starting with g of negative 6. I just find my answer on this, on one of these. So since it's g, I'm going to the table. These are x's, so I'm looking here, okay, and I locate the negative 6 is right here. What's the answer there? It's 0, okay? So my first thing that I'm going to underline is 0. That then becomes the x value for the f function. Okay, so now instead of it being a y, it's the x. So I go over to the f function, which is the table, or which is the graph, and I go to 0 on the x. So I'm going to follow this line until I find 0, which is right here. Go down and find where this function hits 0, which is the y answer is negative 1. Okay, so my answer that I would put in the box is negative 1. All right, we're going to try it again. It's just the reverse of and a different number, but we start here. F of negative 5 equals, so f is the graph, and this is the x value. So I'm going to negative 5, find it on this line. Go to negative 5, okay, there it is. And then go see what number we're at there. It looks like 4. Underline 4. Now we're going over to g of 4 and we're going to figure out what that is. Now remember, this becomes the x again. So I look in the table, I find the x, okay, here it is. Go to 4, it's right here, and find what that y is. So the answer is 5. All right. So I'm going to put C and D down there, but I want you to try them out. So pause this, give it a gander. You're just using the same function twice, okay? So f of 8, f is the graph, so we're going to be using the graph both times. We're going to start here. F of 8 equals, showing you one more time how to use the graph. 8's the x, so I'm going to go here, find 8, here it is, go down and see where my line is at. It's right there, which is at -9. Underline. And I'm just using f again, so I'm going to swoop for f of -9 equals, then we're going to do that process one more time, okay? So I find here, same graph, go to -9, figure out where that line is at, and it actually is crossing there, so it's going to be a 0. So my answer is a good old 0. Okay? So I'm actually going to pause, and hopefully you get the table one correct. And here's that one. If you didn't get it, just pause, try looking at the other 3 examples one more time and see if you can get it. But, alright, homework is on Math XL. I think it's only a couple questions, like 10 maybe? So get that going. If you have questions, please email me, but do not save this until Sunday if we end up not coming back this week, okay? Do it today, get it over with, and then email me if you need help. Have a good one, y'all. Stay safe, stay warm.